Hello everyone, this is Jason from Prime Time Aquatics. Today, we're going to be upgrading our brine shrimp hatchery. Brine shrimp is something that we feed to a lot of the fish in our fish room. We've got a lot of small fish. We love it. Sometimes it will encourage certain fish species to breed. The problem we're having right now is we just don't have enough of it. Right now, we've got it in 2 half-liter bottles, and we want to upgrade that to full-liter bottles. But there's some things I want to point out as we go through and make these new brine shrimp hatcheries. Some things I wish I would have known when I first did it, so stay tuned. All right, so you may have seen these before, and some of the videos kind of in the background. These are the brine shrimp hatchery bottles that we have right now. Again, there are 2 half-liter bottles. You can see the first one here closest to us. This is the one we're going to use tonight. The other one is the one we use in the morning. So I highly recommend if you're ever going to hatch brine shrimp, do 2 so you can actually do that twice a day. So I'm going to show you how we do this, but there's some things about these bottles I don't like. All right, everyone. So the first thing that we need to think about is the bottle that you're going to be using. Again, this is a 1-liter bottle. It's kind of tall, but the thing I like about this bottle much more than the bottle that we were using before is the bottle we were using in the past had these ridges on the sides. That makes those bottles hard to clean, and it also will trap some of the brine shrimp, and I'll show you that as we go through the video. But this is a nice smooth surface. It's tall, so when we run our line down, it's really going to get a lot of flow going, and the brine shrimp ultimately need that flow. So one of the things that we're going to have to do first is we want to cut a little bit of this top off, and this top is going to serve as a lid for our brine shrimp hatchery. All right, so we have to go ahead and cut this top off, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to take our scissors and get it started. And again, if this is, if you're not an adult, ask your parents before you do this, because using scissors and razor blades to cut these tops off is not necessarily a 100% easy, safe thing to do. But we're gonna just cut this lid, and this lid, the bottom of this will serve as a lid for our brine shrimp hatchery. It doesn't need to be perfect. So that's what we need. And we'll clean this part up here in a second. I'll cut all this off. But this is about all I need for a lid. And then ultimately this is gonna sit just like this in here to keep evaporation down, to keep stuff from flying out. So this is our lid. The other thing we have to do is we need to build a base. For this entire thing here, this is going to be our brine shrimp hatchery. So we're going to want to make sure that this is nice and tightly closed. This is where the brine shrimp are going to live. This is our lid. The second thing that we're going to need is a base to keep this from falling over. That's what this second water bottle here is for. All right, so what we're going to do with this one is we're going to cut this right around about the 1/3 to 1/2 mark, about 1/3, and this is going to sit inside of here. So let me show you that. So now we need the base for our brine shrimp hatchery. That's going to be right here. So again, we're just going to go ahead and use scissors to cut out base. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to, that was a loud noise. This can be our base, and then what's going to happen is this part is going to sit inside of here just like that. We'll run air through the top, and we'll be in good shape. The next thing we have to do, and the thing I think that a lot of people leave out when building one of these, if you fill this up with water, this becomes very top heavy with no weight here in the bottom. So the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add either some sand or some rocks to the bottom of this. So we're going to add some rocks here. That's going to help weigh this down so that this doesn't become too top heavy and tip over. Okay, so what we've done is we've put a few rocks on the bottom of this thing. We've shoved this in here so it's pretty tight. The last thing we're going to do, and you can do this, the old one had duct tape. You can see we brought out the old one now, but the old one had duct tape that was holding it together. We're going to go ahead and use some all-purpose Loctite tape just to kind of go around once, make sure this is not getting a lot of water. That was a problem we had with the earlier one. Because we just kind of duct taped it into place in a couple areas, water would sometimes leak in there, and then you get some algae down here. So we're going to go ahead and tape this up, and that's it. This thing is pretty much ready to go. All right, guys, so just to recap, you need 2 bottles to make a single brine shrimp hatchery. You're going to need a bottle to cut, so you've got a base, your brine shrimp hatchery, and then the second bottle you're going to want to cut out so that you have a lid. And so the bottom piece and the top piece just fit together like this. Again, I would tape this, seal this shut. I would also put something in here that's heavy so it's not top heavy. And then the plastic lid from the second bottle goes up here. You could also cut a little hole in the top lid as we have done, so that when your hoses are going in here, and we'll show you that in a minute, when the hoses are going in here, you won't have any problems with the hoses pinching or the tops popping off. All right, so I figured if we're gonna set this thing up, let me show you real quick how we hatch out our live baby brine. So the first thing we do is we need some salt. So Luke's behind the camera. I'm gonna ask Luke to go ahead and give me a couple scoops of salt. We've got a big 50-pound bag, believe it or not, of Solar Natural salt. So this is a tablespoon. For a liter, we're gonna put 2 of these in here. Luke, give me one more. So if it was a half liter, you would just need 1 of these. So now we're gonna have 2 tablespoons of salt. Luke, you can take that back. We're also going to use some baking soda. I just use a pinch of baking soda. It's not an exact science. It helps buffer the solution. So we need our salt, we need our baking soda. The water that's in here is just tap water, came directly from the sink. We do not dechlorinate it. A lot of the sources will say that if you leave the tap water undechlorinated, so if you leave the chlorine in, it actually helps the brine shrimp hatch a little bit more efficiently. We have not found it to be an issue by leaving the water undechlorinated, so we go ahead and just leave it untreated. These are the brine shrimp eggs, and the directions that we have say for a liter, we're going to want a half a tablespoon, so we're going to go ahead and just pour this in. A lot of different places you can buy this. We're actually going to do a fish food video at some point in the future. We'll talk more about this, but this is going to be hard to do on camera. So we're going to pour that in, kind of make sure that it's all out, and it is. And we'll take you over back to the brine shrimp area and we'll show you the stuff bubbling, but that's all you do. So you need, for a liter, we've got a couple tablespoons of salt, a pinch of the baking soda, and then we've got the half a tablespoon of brine shrimp, and we're going to go ahead and get that thing going, and we'll show you what that looks like. All right, everybody, so this is what the new brine shrimp hatchery looks like. So again, you can see we've got the 2-liter bottles, or 2 1-liter bottles. We've got our air, and that is just coming directly from our central air system. So I've got a gang valve up here with 2 hoses running down. They go through the lids through the holes that I cut in the lids, and those, ideally, the hose is going all the way down to the bottom. On this one that's closest to us, it's not quite there. I'll probably go ahead and cut another hose so that does go all the way to the bottom. You can see I've got the flow going pretty well. The one on the left is about ready to use. We actually just poured some of the stuff from the previous 2 directly into this. This one on the right is the one we just made. So you can kind of see the color difference of what to expect. So this one on the left, like I said, we could use this right now. This one on the right, we just made, and it'll look like the one on the left in about 24 hours. So it takes about 24 hours for this stuff to hatch. The light is necessary because we need light, and that light also supplies a little bit of heat to allow the brine shrimp to hatch. So usually it works pretty well. You can see how far away I have the light from the bottles. That has worked for us for well over a year. We've been hatching this stuff out twice a day for about a year now without any issues. We've never had a batch go bad or anything like that. Usually after about 36 hours, you're probably going to be looking at some problems. The brine shrimp really doesn't have anything to eat in there, so it's going to die. So you really have to use it between 18 and 24 hours is ideal, I think, at least from our experience. All right, everyone, so I wanted to show you how we feed this stuff out as well. So the first thing we do is we have to collect the brine shrimp at the bottom of the container. Brine shrimp are attracted to light, so what we do is we put the brine shrimp, or I put the brine shrimp on top of this 50-gallon lowboy lid, and there's some light towards the bottom, so I'm going to feed out all the other fish. By the time I'm done feeding out the other side of the fish room, I can come back in here and this stuff will be all settled to the bottom, and then we can just siphon it out, and I'll show you how that happens in a minute. So we're going to give this a few minutes to settle down, and then we'll be ready to feed it. Okay, so this is our makeshift hose or a straw. All you have to do is place your thumb over this, stick it all the way down to the bottom. When you let your thumb up, all the stuff is going to suck up. And then you put your thumb back on, and I've got a bunch of brine shrimp in here. Okay guys, so I've got my finger over this straw. I'm gonna hold it over the tank, let my finger off, and you see all the brine shrimp coming out. And so now our little geophagus fry are gonna be happy. They're eating. Luke, go ahead and watch them. Keep your focus on the tank. And they love this stuff. And the wonderful thing is, almost all fry will eat this. If they're not eating this, then there might be something wrong. But we feed this out to these guys twice a day. We've got some new fry in some of the 10 gallons, peacock gudgeon fry. The gold ocellatus like it, the Maltese love it. So we go around and we feed this stuff. And so we are running a little bit low on those half-liter portions. So now with the full liter, they'll all be able to get a whole lot more. All right, everybody, so we had a little bit of a project to do today. Thought it'd be a good idea to bring you along. Again, the thing that we really needed to change is we needed a larger brine shrimp hatchery, and we really wanted to get away from the water bottles that had the lines in them or the ridges, because that was trapping a brine shrimp. It wouldn't flow as well, and it was collecting algae, and it was really hard to clean. So we kind of made a point to make them a little bit larger and make them smooth on the inside, so that if we need to wash those things out, it's a lot easier to do. So if you like this video, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.